Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Today, we're going to look at how to manage and market your business during COVID-19. This has been such a hot topic, understandably, across our blog, across questions that we're getting from customers. We know this has impacted just about everybody around the globe in some form or shape so far. We know there's a lot of questions about, what as a small business or what as an agency you should be doing to help your company run smoothly during this time. So we've compiled a lot of great resources for you to look at, some tips and best practices. We know every industry is a little bit different, but we're going to look at kind of some of the top trends that we hope you can go in and apply into your companies. So I know we have a lot of customers on the call today who are familiar with WordStream, but for anyone who might be new or wondering, just so you guys know what we're all about, we have software aimed to help you with your online digital advertising. So you will want to keep up with us over the next few weeks as we are starting to compile and analyze more data around the coronavirus and the ways that it's impacting online marketing. So you'll see here all of our different social media platforms. So make sure to go give us a follow. We're working around the clock really to try to keep up with trends and best practices that we can share with you guys. So moving into logistics for today's webinar, common questions we normally get. Will the webinar be recorded? Just wanted to let you know, yes, you will be receiving a recording of today's webinar. Within usually about 24 hours, we'll email that out to you because we are going to go through a lot of great content today. Just wanted to let you know, you can definitely take notes, but don't feel obligated to get every single detail down. We'll be sending you this information after the call as well. And also wanted to let you know, you can submit your questions for our Q&A section at the end. I know some of you submitted those ahead of time, but for anyone else, if you have anything that comes up along the way, feel free to write those into the questions box, and we'll review as many of those as we can at the end. We do have a lot of content to get through and a lot of questions already, but we'll do our best. We know this is an important time for everybody, and we want to help you answer as many of those questions as we can. So without further ado, now that we've made it through the logistics of everything, I'm going to pass things over to Mark Irvin, who's our senior data scientist here at WordStream. He has crunched the numbers, looked at a lot of different trends across the entire industry here, and has some great things that he wants to share with us today. So take it away, Mark.
Hey, Kim, thanks so much for having me today. And thank you all for joining today's webinar. I recognize this is very crazy time for us. I recognize that a lot of us probably aren't prepared to deal with an issue like this. I know that if you told me at the beginning of the month that we'd be dealing with a pandemic, I was not prepared to take all the time to crunch the data and to really address a world changing. So I want to thank you guys for joining us today. I know that this is not necessarily the best case scenario for most of you viewing this webinar. This is a very special webinar because I'm hosting it from the comfort of my own kitchen. And I recognize most of you are joining us from a different place as well, be that your home or be that your home office, or be that while your kids are right next to your husband or significant other is right next to you. I appreciate that. And I know this is something that we're going to get together and get through together. So what I want to do is I really want to just start in terms of what's the best case for you as a marketer to begin to address some of these changes to the market and to the business and to your paid advertising. And the very first thing that I'm learning alongside you guys is that the very first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take care of yourself and your family. I've been in the same 700 square foot apartment for the past 14, 15 days at this point. I haven't seen Kim, who introduced me, in a number of weeks. I'm distant from my team and I'm living a different life than I'm used to. And I'm sure that's not something that is different to you guys or different to the people who search you. It's really important to put this into perspective. Obviously, we're all living through a global pandemic. This is a wholly uncharted territory for all of us, for most of us, regardless of whether or not you're new to the industry or whether or not you're the most influential person in the industry. This is something that people are going to read about in textbooks. And quite frankly, that's a priority for us, is as we live through a global pandemic, we really do need to think about how we go about controlling our lives. So what you can't personally do is you can't control the virus, you can't control the news, you can't control the closing of schools, of government, the reaction of government, the world, the moon, the tides, Mercury in retrograde, what have you. All of these things happen and we're responding it together. You as an individual only have a set number of things that you can control. And during all of this time, you control your mood, your reaction, and the decisions you make. And so you want to make sure that what you do as an individual, both personally and professionally, you're making those good decisions. And so there's going to be an easy gut reaction as you consume more news, as the world around you turns into more chaos, as you slowly go stir crazy within your homes and your own apartments, that there's a temptation there to quickly react and to pull back and to make decisions based off of what a pundit says on the news. I think it's very important during all of this time that you stay informed, and you're doing that today, but to make smart marketing decisions based off of data. And so luckily, I'm well positioned in the market that we have 30,000 individual ad accounts that we can go and pull data from. We can most certainly see trends, and we'll be sharing that both in the contents of today's webinar, as well as with our teams around the clock and on social and across the blog. I'm sure that this is not going to be the only time that I sit in front of a webcam and give a presentation like this in the next day, week, month. But you're going to have the best data as you see COVID impact your campaigns and your business. And the smartest decision that you could make today is to commit yourself to following that data and not following what you're hearing on the news. So as we make smart marketing decisions, there's going to be times throughout the next couple of weeks, there have been times in my own life over the past couple of days where I've gotten frustrated and I physically need to stop, get up from my desk, and walk away from this environment for a second so I can come back and make a smarter decision. I highly encourage you doing the same. This is not going to be a time to hold yourself accountable for your diet or your best intentions. We're going to let some things slide, but make smart decisions as it impacts your business. And with that, before we even start talking about your marketing, we really do need to discuss what is smart decisions for your business. How do you go about taking care of your business in a world where so many of our own business operations have changed? At no point in time did WordStream plan to have a webinar hosted in my kitchen, but here we are today. The biggest thing that I can say is that particularly as a lot of you manage small and medium businesses, there's a real reality to the fact that small and medium businesses are not prepared for the problems of a global pandemic. They're not prepared to shut down their doors or to change their operations on a whim like this. And we know when we go across financial data and what people are reporting, we know that half of small businesses don't have the cash liquidity to survive 28 days without revenue, that burn rate is very small on small businesses. A restaurant can't just pay rent and not make revenue in a month. More businesses can't grow if they don't have the same level of revenue coming in. And that's true for small and medium and enterprise businesses, that if you plan to have a revenue stream, if you made 2020 projections, they are now going to be different. So as this goes about planning your own finances and planning your own business, quite frankly, it is very fine to accept the fact that things are going to change and that numbers are not going to be as great as they may have looked at the beginning of the year. Before you look to close up shop or before you look to take your business offline for periods of time, be aware that there are opportunities for financing. The Small Business Administration within the United States have offered loans up to $2 million at very, very low interest rates. Currently at 3.75% for small businesses, 2.75% for nonprofits. Those are competitive with inflation rates. So that's effectively a a non-real interest rate. And beyond that, beyond just paying for loans, there's plenty of opportunities, and they're going to be coming out today and the next day and everything else. But even within the IRS tax relief and deferment plans, taxes are now not due until July 15th of 2020. That's a 3-month extension right there. And beyond that, there are a number of programs for disaster relief credits and for payment deferment as it relates to businesses impacted by COVID-19. Now, I can't speak to the state of Congress and to the state of what's going to be coming out of this administration, but know that there are certainly things that are going to be coming forth to help other small, medium, and large businesses be financed and help support themselves during the coming months. Beyond that, as you think about your customers and how your customers go about engaging with you, this is an opportunity to just do a quick checklist in terms of operationally, where does your business come in? Of course, your foot traffic is going to be different, but just think about your online presence. Your Google My Business, you may have created your Google My Business when you first started advertising online or when you first created your website. If you're now operating with a different phone number, if you're not in that business and you're having your phones forwarded or people aren't there to answer the phone at the same hours of the day, this is your chance to go in and update that phone number, update those hours, and update those locations that are still available. And it's also a good opportunity to go in and post something through your Google My Business stating whether or not you're open and what your current operations look like during this pandemic. It's amazing the difference between confidence that consumers have when they go online and they see that you're still actively posting versus seeing something from a year or two ago. They'll make some assumptions, and if they don't see you active on this, particularly during times like this when they expect business interruptions. Your social accounts, be that on Facebook, be that on Instagram, be it on Twitter, be it on LinkedIn, you do want to make sure that you update those hours and locations similarly to how you go and update your Google My Business, but also you do want to post something timely here. That this does not mean that you need to go and you need to post something every hour of every day, of course, but you should post something as people are going to search for you both on Google, but also across social. Just stating the fact that you are open or you are not open, but you're taking online orders, or you are not open, but you are fulfilling orders at a later date. Something to state the fact that someone who is searching for you still sees the fact that you're operating in some capacity or plan to operate. That will change their behavior in terms of visiting your website or placing an order. And of course, your ad campaigns. This is of course very near and dear to my own business and heart. You do want to make sure that you update your phone number here. You update your phone number, your phone extensions, your location extensions, your geographic targeting. If you change your business operations, you're now available 24/7 in your house, or you're available much more limited hours. You want to reflect that day parting in your own campaigns so that you're only spending money to reach people when they can contact you. And also, this is a beautiful opportunity to update your ads to reflect your local inventory and services. It sounds very silly, but just stating the fact that you are open during this pandemic or that you are operating in any kind of fashion during this pandemic gives people assurance to the fact that they'll click on your ad and make that conversion if they know that that's going to be fulfilled in a timely fashion versus weeks or months down the road. And the biggest thing that I can say to businesses who are thinking about, yes, we're all experiencing different operations, we're all experiencing different impacts of this, is to stay agile. Think of how you can adjust to this market in terms of the services or how you meet your customers in this market. With this kind of shift and with these disasters come opportunity as well. So this is a perfect example. We have a client of ours. They primarily deal, they're called Tent Craft. And what they do is they provide those pop-up tents that events and small businesses or farmers markets or teams or what have you use outside to go and promote their product or service. They're very events-based, they're very conference-based, they're very good weather, sports-related. If you put them in any category, this is a category that would have taken a large hit during COVID as events and large gatherings and sporting events all crumble around, stopped serving. But what they've chosen to do, given that market, that there are not going to be people out there looking for event promotion spaces, or that they're not going to have parties or events that would require these kinds of tents. What they've done is they've converted a lot of their tents and their services into these pop-up tents for medical purposes and for those screening and drive-through screening sites that are outside. And in doing so, they find themselves a very large market that is now in very high demand. They're of course going to float their business, but moreover, they're going to help their community and all of us who are dealing with this evolving pandemic at the same point in time. So think not just towards how can you keep your business afloat and reduce your operations, but what opportunities are there within your business to pivot towards needs that exist within this market, whether or not those are local or national or delivery or service-based, but also potentially where there is certainly need as it relates to this pandemic for you to partner with a local healthcare provider or a government to provide them the things that they're looking for most. Those kinds of shifts are going to help you keep your business afloat, keep your employees employed, but also can help you increase your business during an otherwise very difficult time. Now, I know a lot of you come to WordStream and came here today because you were hoping that I'd talk about how's this going to impact your paid search campaigns. And for better or for worse, depending on who you ask, if you're a customer, I'm sure that you're thrilled that I've spent a lot of time looking at this. If you're my husband and you've just seen me on the desk doing this math for the past week, you're probably less enthused about this. But I'm gonna go through a bunch of data in terms of the trends that we're seeing, how COVID-19 is impacting our own clients' paid search accounts, and how you can go about adjusting yourself to these trends that exist in the marketplace. And so when we talk about what's going on in terms of how COVID is impacting Google specifically, or Google search specifically, there's of course a lot of bad news that I can share here. There shouldn't surprise anyone here. Google search ad clicks have decreased about 7% since the beginning of March. That is not huge. That is very similar to a holiday weekend shift in traffic, but it is of course 7%. A lot of us can't afford to shrink 7%. And of course, as consumer uncertainty and fear grows, we are seeing that conversion rates across multiple industries have dropped 21% on average across client accounts. This is particularly impactful to small, medium businesses and local businesses, where we've seen US store visit conversions have fallen 90% month over month. And so that's of course in line with what you would expect, that as many places go into shelter in place, as most of us just simply spend less time outside traveling and doing less traditional retail, we're seeing those kinds of impacts on the SERP as well. There is some good news to all of this though as well. What we see is that there is actually heightened confidence in users interacting with paid search ads. So we actually see the fact that Google search ads have increased 10% during this pandemic. We are seeing that people are very much more receptive to clicking on an ad as a result of this, because that ad is there intentionally and they know that they're not going to arrive at a website that isn't fulfilling orders, or a website that isn't as well maintained on the organic side. We've seen that search cost per clicks have decreased by 15%, hitting a one-year low, in fact. So that's really fantastic as well, that yes, of course, people are converting less, but it's costing less to send people to our site through Google. And what we're seeing and most reassuring in this, where there's plenty more opportunity for us as advertisers, is we're seeing that consumer searches preferences are shifting, but not necessarily ending. So there's not necessarily this huge migration away from people who are searching for things, but the way that they search for is these products and services is changing rather than stopping altogether. And so what we've seen is that not all industries are similarly affected. We see the fact that there are most certainly some industries that are hurting, but we're actually seeing a lot of industries, a lot of advertisers have better performance during this pandemic than they may have in months prior. A big win that fills my heart is nonprofits and charities are doing very, very well during this. That there is an increased search interest around how people can go and help, and that there is an increased conversion rate from people who are arriving through search that go and fulfill and donate to these nonprofits and charities, which is really fantastic. We're of course seeing health and medical, particularly pharmaceuticals, do very well in this. We're seeing conversion rates increase by about 30 to 40% in those industries. Business management is doing very well. We're seeing a lot of search interest around people who are looking for help in terms of managing uncertainty and managing a business during this. Finance as well, particularly on the B2B side. People are still looking at taxes, people are looking to take out loans, people are looking to find some financial stability, and these financiers are going to be well positioned, that there's a lot of trust in this as uncertainty increases. Beauty and personal care, I know that skincare in particular is on top of everyone's mind. I touch my face all day, every day, and so that is most certainly something that we've seen an increase search traffic for. Media of all kinds, be that entertainment or even business media, is doing really well. So of course, entertainment, as we're all home, we're spending more time, online, we're looking at movies, we're looking at Netflix, we're looking at things to do with kids. Those kinds of things have increased conversion volume between 7 and 107%, but even on-demand media does really well. So you're watching a webinar today, you're seeing that kind of marketing also pick up during these times to offset some of the events. And we're also seeing gifts, greetings, flowers, those kinds of personal touches where most of us are not going to see people in person for holidays or for birthdays or for anniversaries or those kinds of things. Those particular markets are doing very well during this period of time as well. Some large industries have mixed performance. Real estate, for instance, we're seeing on the whole, people are still looking at real estate in a very same way that they are looking at, or in a very similar way that they were looking at previously. But what we're seeing is that preferences are quickly changing. People are less likely to want to go to an open house than they were back in February. Obviously, going into a stranger's house and mingling with large crowds is something that we are discouraging in this time. But we are seeing that real estate agents are suddenly getting an uptick, particularly now in terms of booking an appointment to go view an apartment or a home. So they're still out there. The markets are still good on the housing market for the time being. How we go about searching for that particular product is changing very quickly though. So this is no longer something that I'm necessarily just going to take a look at a listing, but I'm now going to book an appointment to go visit. Home improvement, home furniture and decor, both of those together, because we're spending more time in our homes. Yeah, certainly there's compression on a general retail market, but these things, as we look at spending weeks or months in our own home with our family, those kinds of things are beginning to pick up in terms of search volume and conversion volume as well. Automotive, we're seeing automotive, of course, having supply chain issues, particularly in the newer models, but there is increased search volume and increased search preference towards some lower ends of automotive. Things like used vehicles or vehicle auctions are suddenly becoming very popular. Vehicle repairs or window tinting even. Those kinds of lower ends of vehicle and auto are doing very well, whereas the higher end is the one that's suffering a little bit more. Retail may be doing poorly globally in the market, but on Google search, it's doing fairly well, in large part because Amazon has stopped advertising through Google search over the past couple of weeks. It is relieving a lot of that pressure from a large advertiser. So costs are in fact decreasing in the retail market. And a lot of places, as Amazon and these big boxers, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, as those kinds of things stop having inventory or stop able to deliver on their promised 2-day delivery or fulfill their orders in the same confidence that they previously were able to, that suddenly does open up a lot of opportunity for small retail to capture a large audience who is searching for this. And Google is becoming an increasingly popular place for them to do it. So I actually imagine that retail will steadily improve during this period. Jobs and education, we're seeing people are still looking for jobs. We're seeing a lot of people are going to lose their jobs during this. Education, people are looking not necessarily right now to get into higher education program, but that kind of uptick would come later on in the year. So we're at this very unique place between early commitment or early decision and a general SAT or a general college commitment date. So we're currently in a lull that we're not seeing it impacted today. That could, of course, change a couple months down the line. And then legal, we're seeing a small dip in legal searches. I've seen about like a 5% dip in legal searches since COVID really took over. What we're seeing though is legal is shifting really quickly. There is certainly fewer personal injury lawyer cases. There is certainly fewer automobile or DUI related cases, but that is being offset by an increase in things like business management and enterprise and estate planning, will and general counsel. So how you go about pivoting maybe a large personal injury lawyer firm over to something that does more general counsel during this point in time actually can help you capture a different type of the market. And of course, advertising, poor performance, travel and hospitality. Yes, they are struggling very, very hard. We're seeing on average conversion rates have fallen about 50%. People are still booking travel out in the future, but there's still a difference in terms of the travel that they're seeing today. Bars, restaurant, nightlife, yep, conversions are down considerably as you would expect. Definitely there's still opportunity to pivot to a local market, to delivery or to different services or what have you, but that's certainly a challenge. Live entertainment, conferences, events, you're seeing conversions for current events, of course, drop to zero, but you're seeing events even further down the road decrease confidence and decrease conversion rate by about 30%. Sports and fitness, yep, as you'd imagine, people are not signing up for gyms. There's still a lot of search interest for that. In fact, if you were going to Google Trends, dumbbells is at its all-time Google search high as people are locked out of the gym. So there's plenty of opportunity to pivot, but these businesses have been historically slow to pivot to digital. Building, construction, industrial, and manufacturing, these industries are also beginning to decline as well due to COVID. Happy to discuss these in detail later. Please send Q&A along so we can have more conversation here. But an important trend to understand is that these coronavirus searches are really dominating the SERP. We're seeing the fact that today, coronavirus is one of the most popular search terms on Google, period. And this far elapses what we would traditionally see for cold or flu-related searches. We're seeing that's grown over 22-fold in the past month alone. I'm sure it's only going to grow even more in days and months ahead as it becomes more newsworthy, as it begins to dominate our political cycle, as it begins to dominate our social media. It's only going to continue to increase. And so it's very important to mind the fact that although coronavirus is dominating the SERP, that also does have a consequence in terms of how other people are searching. You can see, I'm not going to go into all of these right now, but there's a major shift in terms of how people are searching online and what people are searching for online. Things like, are fast food restaurants open today, is just something that previously as an American I would have assumed, yeah, of course they're open all the time. But here we are, we're seeing that in that particular search term has increased by 4,000% in the past week. Typically what we traditionally see is that 15% of all searches on Google have never happened before in a given day. Over the past few weeks, that number has grown to closer to 25% of all search terms in ads are now new, never been searched for before, or at least in our data. So there is certainly a whole lot more searches that are coming through that we and you have never seen before. That's of course impacting your ad performance. So the best advice that I can give anyone in terms of how to go about reacting to all of this, how to go about reacting to COVID, is to review your search terms at least once a week. You want to make sure that you're adding relevant keywords to better manage your traffic as people are searching for delivery, as people are searching for these new things. If those are valid things that you want to show for, you want to include them as keywords in your campaigns. But of course, a lot of this traffic is going to be irrelevant as well, and you want to go in and exclude that traffic. Now you can wait for those to show up in your search term report, or you can proactively identify those new negative keywords. WordStream does have a free negative keyword tool. We're happy to drop that into the chat so that you can go and you can begin to get ahead of some of the negative keywords that are already showing up in your accounts. As well, if you want to reach out to us afterwards, we have a whole host of relevant COVID-19 related keyword lists that we're happy to share. Beyond that, you can follow trending COVID-19 searches. Google, in fact, has an entire hub of their Google Trends tool just dedicated to coronavirus. And so that's going to give you the current breakout searches that are related to COVID-19 every single day, every single week. So as this changes and as businesses change and as people change their search habits, I've honestly been looking at the coronavirus hub just about daily so that I can understand exactly what that breakout looks like today. And it's certainly going to change daily, if not hourly at this point. Now, you do want to make sure that you refresh your ads. So the ads from a month ago that you created may now have new unintentional messages or undesired imagery in this. And this is something that might sound a little silly to you because you wrote your ads and you wrote it with a very clear intent in your mind, but someone who is searching for the keyword virus check a month ago, you may have assumed, of course, is going to go download something like this free virus scan to clean up their computer, whereas the word virus check means something completely different today. Even outside of Google search, display your social ads, they now have different imagery. So this 5 game day specials with a whole group of friends touching and sharing food, that was certainly an experience that we all would have appreciated and enjoyed a month ago. But today there is no game day. I'm not spending time outside at a restaurant with my friends, and I certainly don't want to touch people in a community environment sharing food that closely to one another. So although the times have shifted, and that puts us in a little bit of a weird position in terms of how our ads were messaged. So we want to be very sensitive to our customers' needs and their new sensitivities. You might want to consider revisiting some of your ads. Now, Google does have a number of prohibitions in the way of how advertisers are going to operate during COVID-19 and how it allows advertisers to speak to COVID-19. So you want to avoid direct references in your ads, including phrases like COVID or coronavirus, just because the algorithms may pick that up and may either disapprove or deprioritize your ads on the SERP. You want to basically make sure that none of your ads are not showing at all. Even if they're not disapproved, Google may choose to not show them, fearing that you're trying to capitalize off a pandemic. You also want to avoid verbs like hoard or dying, even if they were originally intended to be a figurative kind of hoarding or dying. Google is very sensitive to those kinds of behaviors and is being overly conservative in preventing them from showing up in ads. You also want to be very careful in terms of how you message any specific sales or promotions that you have. It is very fine for you to be running a promotion at the end of March or a stay-at-home sale, or if you've got a discount that you would like to get out there, that is very appropriate. It is not appropriate to call it a pandemic sale or anything along those lines. So be very careful in terms of your messaging around this, particularly on Google. Now, given the fact that the world has changed, you do want to reconsider your ads, particularly as they reference things like March Madness or the Olympics or other timely events that certainly now begin a different imagery in our mind. I can't tell you how many times I've seen like Geico ads or something that are March Madness themed, and now that there is no March Madness, it just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth during the ad experience. You also want to be careful in terms of how you message your ads. I know that Google even had this ad that was reading out and on the go. Not so great for social distancing. So consequently, you want to avoid a lot of sensitive terms that would promote social distancing or promote social activities or people being outside or visiting you in your store. And even images that have handshakes, hugs, high fives, a lot of this in the stock image department. We all have those ads of people shaking hands, of a large group of people, diverse people in a room getting together and making a decision. Those ads suddenly take on a different kind of context in a COVID world. So you want to think more specifically, can I have one model in this particular ad rather than having many? Now, there is opportunity in all of this to promote more relevant value props and benefits. So as Amazon no longer offers free or timely delivery, this is a beautiful time to promote that in your own ads. As inventory diminishes, it's very great to just promote the fact that you have something in stock or limited stock or while supplies last. If you're serving a particular market, if you're serving a Boston market or a New York market or a suburban market, it's very appropriate right now to state that to the people who are searching for that, as well as how your ads reach people on different devices. If you are something that you're streaming and you're available on the go or across any device, be that your phone or your computer or your TV, I think it's more appropriate than ever as people have very specific technological needs during a work from home, shelter in place situation. And with that, it's really important to rethink about your device strategy. Google has been very mobile first for years now, and it's been the year of mobile, and mobile has been a staple to most of our campaigns for a long period of time. But what we're seeing during this entire pandemic is that mobile ad traffic is taking the brunt of the loss here. So mobile ad traffic just in the past few weeks is down 24% from where it was a month ago. And desktop traffic is decreasing as well, but it's decreasing far, far less. So suddenly your mobile first strategy isn't the same strategy that you need to run through in a COVID world. So you want to go in and you want to revisit your device bid adjustments. Maybe this is the time to reconsider a smart bidding strategy. Something like max conversions or target CPA might be a more appropriate strategy than trying to adjust your device bid adjustments, as this is so rapidly evolving. And your ad copy and your landing page is still an opportunity to go and revisit, particularly as we talk about a desktop-focused audience. Now, there's still plenty of opportunity to find things outside of Google search. And what we're seeing is that, yes, of course, Google search is declining. People are still spending a lot of time online, and there's still a lot of opportunity, and advertisers are finding a lot of opportunity off the Google SERP. And so we're looking at Bing and other search partners. They appear a lot less impacted by COVID-19. We'll discuss that in a little bit, but we're seeing that display, social, video have increased traffic. So the biggest thing that I can say to people who are advertising on just Google search today is if you're just on Google search or if you're just on one of these networks, then shifts like this are going to be very disruptive to you and your business and your marketing. But advertising across networks gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of how you can go about reacting here and ensuring that you're able to get consistent results even in a time of confusion like this. So we see the fact that Bing is very attractive during COVID-19, in large part because Bing powers 36% of all US desktop searchers. So as we're spending less time on mobile, and more time on our work laptops in particular as we work from home and X, Y, and Z, there gives us a whole lot more opportunity on the Bing network as a whole lot more people have suddenly shifted to searching on Bing. And since COVID-19 first broke out, we're seeing actually so far this month, Bing searches are only down about 5% of their traffic, as opposed to those advertised on Google, which are feeling about 4 times that decrease. So Bing suddenly becomes a very stable offering during this period of time. And display and social are growing. We're seeing the fact that although people might be searching less, we're sure spending a whole lot more time online. We see that internet usage is up 50%, almost to the point that that's a problem from our infrastructure standpoint, but as a consequence, ad traffic from display, from social, from video is up considerably. So this gives you some new opportunity to get in front of those audiences, and you can have a little bit more fun with display and social ads here. Like we can of course see that Quest Health showing an ad here is going to be very, very successful. But specifically this Sweetie ice cream that says that they deliver right to your door, or this promo.com, a B2B advertiser is finding its audience on social of all places. And they're able to be a little tongue in cheek here with this ad featuring toilet paper and the statement, "No need to panic, video ads are here to stay." So you can have a little bit more reach and a little bit more memory to your ads across these different networks. And that's going to impact a lot of your long-term marketing plans. Because we see the fact that if you're just advertising on Google, you will get everyone who is coming through and searching on Google. But just by beginning to advertise across network, you begin to change the behavior of how they search later on. So if you were just begin advertising on Bing, you reach that audience on Bing, but because people use both Google and Bing across their different devices, we see the fact that just by advertising on Bing, you increase the likelihood of someone coming back and searching for you on Google by about 26%. Or by running a display ad or by running Facebook ads, you increase the likelihood of someone coming back and searching for you on Google by about 34%. So there's considerable opportunity, considerable value beyond just running your ads on these networks to reach a new audience, but to also change the way that they help improve your own Google search campaigns. And the largest thing that I can also give advertisers is you want to think about targeting your ads to a relevant audience. Now, a lot of people are going out there, they're searching for new products, they're searching for new services for the very first time. And that's really disruptive to your campaigns, of course, that people who are searching for you and unfamiliar and are searching in a panic are finding your ads, and you're always not the best positioned to help them. There are a lot of options in Google Ads to help you cater your ads to different audiences or to exclude certain audiences from finding you. We can look at customer match, remarketing lists, in-market audiences, demographics, and life events. Specifically, if we just look at here, the graph on the right is looking at how people re-engage with your website and how likely they are to convert when they first come to your website versus someone who's on a returning visit. We see that people who are in a remarketing audience are about 25% more likely to ultimately make that conversion after they come and click to your site. But even within certain remarketing audiences, people who have put something in their shopping cart or current customers of yours even are far more likely to convert when they come through a search ad than someone who is just finding your brand for the very first time. This gives us a whole lot of opportunity to reach different people who are searching for us. And as people's searches change so rapidly now, we're going to see that there's going to be influxes of people who are searching for your product and have no understanding of you or your business or what you can do for them. If you're very cautious to reaching a new audience that is very unlikely to convert from you, remarketing suddenly becomes a very attractive opportunity for you. On Microsoft, they have a lot of the same features and functionality, but they also have the ability to target your ads based off of a user's LinkedIn profile. So things like whether or not a user works at a particular company or within a particular industry or a particular job function even, this gives B2B advertisers a lot more control in terms of how they go about targeting their ads. So as you think about people running out and buying masks, for instance, all of a sudden there's a huge consumer market that suddenly exists for masks, but there is also a professional market that genuinely A, needs them more, and B, has more technical experience and is willing to pay a real price to get those masks because they know exactly what they're looking for. This gives you abilities to target your ads to the industry that needs it most and is more likely to become your customers. And as we think about what's available on Google, there are a number of demographic targeting and a number of different particular audience targeting that is available in Google search. And that's very great to get started with. But if you're very interested in getting ahead and finding new audiences and really catering your ads to individuals based off of things like their career, their job, their school, their interests, where they are, who they are, you really do want to go to display or to your social networks like Facebook or Instagram, where you have a whole lot larger opportunity to reach a specific audience on those networks. So as we talk about people taking sudden changes in their search behaviors, the very fastest way to get ahead of all of this is to really look across their social networks and target them based off of those attributes before they necessarily come to Google. And so, guys, I just went through a lot of content. This is one of those situations where the situation is going to evolve rapidly and quickly over the coming months. We'll be publishing a lot on WordStream. I've done a lot of looking into individual accounts as well as trends at large, but I want to make sure that we have some time for some Q&A before we head off. And so, Kim, what are we having come through the Q&A chat today?
Great. Well, I'll give everybody, we've had a lot of great questions already come through, but I'll go ahead and pause and give other people a chance to write in your questions. So while I'm giving everybody a minute for that, just wanted to say thanks again to Mark for running us through all of those great tips and tricks and things that you've seen while crunching the numbers. I think hopefully it was really helpful for all of you on the line and have a couple of things you can go put into practice for your own businesses. So we do have quite a number of questions coming through, but just one other logistical point in case you missed it at the beginning of the webinar. We will be sending a recording of this webinar to you to your email within about 24 hours or so. So just wanted to make sure, as I've seen a couple of questions come through about that, we will hook you guys up. We will send that all to you so you can reference everything that we talked through, once we get that out to you.